All right, Andrew, hit us with the Sif Spoil theme song for this week.
Walk like an Egyptian, but run like Tom Cruise can.
Very nice, very nice. Welcome to the Sift Spoil Spoiler Cast, where the theme song is different every week, because come on, something should still be a surprise. We're going to go over The Mummy and talk about everything that we want to, spoiling everything. A couple things. Number one, if you haven't listened to the podcast, listen to the Siftpop podcast first, because we're not going to rehash all those points we made about the movie in general. We're just going to kind of hit on some spoiler stuff. Number two, if you haven't seen the movie, turn this off now, or at least pause it until you have, because it'll be very confusing to you, because we're just going to jump all around, and we're not going to take the time to explain things to you.
I don't know why, but in my head, I thought you said, if you're watching the movie, turn it off now. Like you were,
No.
I'm like, it wasn't that bad, Aaron.
If you're watching this film, who are you?
Yeah.
No. But yes, I would highly encourage you see a film before you listen to the Sif Spoil, because as far as we're concerned, you have seen it.
Isn't it fascinating that this is a mummy movie that never takes place in Egypt?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the beginning, and then they move her body.
Yeah,
and
to Iraq.
To Iraq.
So
yeah.
I want to know how that happens. How long did they travel before they just said, "This is good"? Thousands of miles.
And here, this is where we bury our mummy.
Yeah.
40 years, I think, is technically the amount of time it takes to walk through a desert. At least I read that somewhere.
Yeah. I think they kept going in circles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They did wander around.
Their GPS was broken.
That's true. Until they found the land flowing with milk and mummies.
Yeah. Aaron.
Okay.
Milk and mummies.
Yes, exactly. So what do you guys want to talk about? What's some stuff you want to spoil? Do you want to talk about Jake Johnson right off the bat?
I hate that. Yeah, I want to talk about. So he gets bit by a non-venomous spider and turns into a zombie, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I hated
a
that
lot
character.
of this movie felt like a zombie movie. The mummies in this feel very zombie-ish.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay, there's... let's talk about him, but there's other stuff I want to talk about too.
Yeah.
But, okay, so he turns into a zombie that only Tom Cruise can see.
Yeah.
They
American
stole that
Werewolf
right
in London.
from... Yeah, so he's like a ghost zombie.
Yeah.
So he's like a ghost, not a zombie. Or is he? I think he's a ghost, not a zombie.
Well, here's the thing. It just brings home that character doesn't work on two levels. It doesn't work on a tonal, level. It's completely really off, and it doesn't work on an understanding level. Like, what is going on? Like,
hey, thanks for bringing me back to life, man.
There's one of those examples of a character saying exactly what's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
Like at the end, like, okay, so they show up and he's obviously not a zombie at the end, right?
Yeah.
And then he has to say, just so the audience makes sure we know, that Tom Cruise brought him to... Well, we got that. We understood Tom Cruise can bring people to life now. You don't have to say that.
Okay. Is Tom Cruise the devil now?
See, that's the thing. Yes, he is. He's Satan now, right?
Tom Cruise is Satan now,
or
right?
Or at least has Satan in him.
Yeah.
Like, what is evil in this universe? What happened?
Yeah,
well,
that's
said
what they talk about. And Russell Crowe, that's what he talks about, right? The different forms of evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can say Russell Crowe is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde now, which I liked. I liked it, not going to lie.
Yeah, but I would have liked it in a different movie.
Yeah.
That's what I said, the thing about it's better than League of Gentlemen, because that whole section felt like the League of Gentlemen to me.
Well,
yes,
he's not
very
Mr. Hulk
nervous
in this one.
You know what it felt like to me? This is going to be a weird comparison for most people, I think. Have you ever seen the TV show Once Upon a Time, where Disney has taken like all of their characters
I've heard about
and put them in? Well, heck, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was one of the characters on that show as well. Huh. That whole scene where he's introduced felt to me like it was on that TV show. Like it was just like, oh, and here's another famous monster character that we're throwing in because it's a universe.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie, man. You had the creature from the Black Lagoon's hand in the mason jar, and
you had the book from the original Mummy.
Yeah, did you notice that, Josh? The book of the living from the Brendan Fraser Mummy was in this. She hits the guy over the head with it.
Yes, and that's what. Yes, I didn't. And I didn't love it.
No.
I mean, I didn't love any of it. Yeah. I was going to say, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I did read somewhere like that's the only public domain. Everybody else is a universal monster, but he's like the only public domain.
Really?
Yeah.
So he doesn't even fit in the universe technically. only in the sense that he fits in every universe.
Right, yeah, he's public domain for sure.
That is cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you yourself could do a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde movie right now, and nobody would own the rights to it.
One with a mustache, one without. that would be my Mr. Hyde. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Dracula's or the vampire skull. That was the other thing in his lab.
Mm-hmm.
So
the fangs. Yeah.
we got onto Russell Crowe talking about how there's no. It was totally my fault. But we were talking about how different religions have different names for the same thing. So in the Egyptian mythology, Set is actually what the Christians refer to as Satan.
Right.
So it's all the same thing, right?
Yes.
That's what I was that's what I was led to understand.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I think that's what the movie was saying.
Okay. So now Tom Cruise is Set/Satan.
Yes. Or at least inhabited by. Him? Yeah, it's I mean, yes, that is apparently because he stabbed himself, maybe? He has some control. So the person who stabbed... I mean, none of this was ever really
What would be the difference
mentioned.
between her stabbing him and him stabbing
That's
himself?
a great question that the movie doesn't even take an attempt to answer.
Because he's stopping her from stabbing him the whole time, and then he stabs himself.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if somehow that would have given her control over him. Nobody ever said that. That was never... In amongst the, minutes and minutes of exposition, nobody expositioned that. So... I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea why.
I'm guessing that's what they were saying. They were saying if she had stabbed him, she would have controlled him. But since he stabbed himself, he was able to do his own thing and fight her so that he wasn't her slave. I guess is what they're trying to say, but nobody ever said that.
The movie's message seems to be let evil into your life so that you can do good with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's like... Is there something there about...
I thought it was along the lines of you can let evil into your life as long as you know how to control it.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. That whole ending was just super annoying
Hated that
to
ending.
me.
Hated
Yeah.
And they're... So now the devil is a Tomb Raider.
Yes.
Because that's what they were going to do. They were going to loot the pyramids of Giza.
Yes.
So he was already evil?
Yeah. Okay, here's another question.
He's the devil with the khaki tunic.
Does Princess Amenet have control over anything that's dead? Because all of a sudden she was a Templar Knight mummy ruler. Like, they were bowing to her and stuff. How does she have control over them? She never did anything to them.
Yeah. Well, because movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did. She's just the one that said rise. She's the one that told him to wake up.
That's right. She knew how to pronounce that word.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
That happened.
In her own language.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I did not, yeah.
Okay, so there
was so much about that. Yeah, I did not, I just didn't understand it, and I don't...
So, Josh, you were talking about how your favorite scene in this movie, we can talk about it now, is the vomit comet scene with the plane crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too, actually. That's my favorite scene in the movie, too.
Yeah, that's what
It's the only scene that feels like anybody creative had anything to say in it.
Well, and it has the only real touch of character in the entire movie when he gives her the parachute and pulls her ripcord and then goes down with the plane. Like, that's the only thing of substance that happens with any of these characters in the movie.
That was the trailer. I don't know if you knew that, but
was it?
That was the trailer.
Oh my goodness!
So the best scene in the movie is the trailer, and then just the words of the mummy pop up.
Wow!
So you see the plane. Like the plane right before it cuts to the ground, and then just the mummy.
And also for a universe where death and decay happen and have to be reversed by by her, like she has to suck their life force out or whatever to start rebuilding herself, which is the same as other mummy movies, including the one 1999.
Yeah.
In a world where that stuff is real, somebody please tell me how his body is in one piece after that plane crash. Like, give me something to understand how he was protected, because it would have made more sense if he was mangled and destroyed,
and then
she like pieced him back together or something. But
or we saw it happen if that was the case.
Yeah, or you saw something happen, like like Glinda the Good Witch puts a bubble around him and he floats out of the plane or something. I don't know, but just there's what force field is keeping his body from being destroyed? Because this universe is the bodies do decay. It's not like there's some weird physical immortality to them.
Yeah, the non-consistency with that, and then if he doesn't get hurt in a plane crash, and how is Mr. Hyde beating the crap out of him?
Yeah, all that stuff. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
when does he get to be invulnerable and when doesn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why, but Hyde. I keep coming back to it, man. Hyde really worked for me, man. I thought it was cool.
I am not opposed to what you're saying. I just not in this movie. Like
Okay.
that scene didn't work for me. I think there's something interesting with the way he's portraying that character.
So let's talk about it's Prodigium, right? That's the name of the organization, Prodigium.
You're probably
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Okay. So
I think
what do
so.
you think about that? How that's setting up the universe? How
I like that stuff.
Jekyll is the one in charge of all that, and that's going to
See,
move
I like that
everything
stuff,
forward.
but this is what I'm talking about with the difference between Iron Man and this movie. That stuff could have been an after credit scene or, something that says, oh, hey, there might be more to this universe.
Totally get it.
Let us focus on this character, this story, what's important here. And then if we fall in love with it, you get to make your universe. But, you're forcing your... Right from the opening title, you're forcing your Dark Universe on us.
Yeah.
The Universal logo turns into the Dark Universe logo.
Which I want to know how they got that from DC, by the way.
Dark Universe? Is that a DC thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
It seemed really cocky.
Yeah, exactly.
It just
There's
seemed
an
like they
arrogance to
were. Yeah, it was very. Yeah, and they are Universal, so I guess there's an air of arrogance, in that you've got that name behind you. But yeah, like don't presume, especially after the DC universe, don't presume that we're just gonna suck it in and chew it up.
Because I've said this about Wonder Woman recently too. If Wonder Woman was the first movie in the DC universe, I think they're dealing with a whole different love for their characters and franchises. Because then you get to set up Batman versus Superman. Then you get to set up, Justice League.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now that I've thought about it, and I'm okay talking about it, because we've all said, okay, yeah, this didn't make sense to me either. I'm comfortable saying this didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Every single time there was a cutaway to a new scene, there were sparks that turned into coins.
I think it was just a spark effect. It looked like a coin when it got close to the screen, but...
Yeah.
But...
It didn't make sense. What did that mean?
That's true. Was there ever a moment where she made fire like that or something?
No.
I don't know.
Okay, thank goodness it didn't make sense to
I
you
don't know either. Yeah.
This movie.
It was like, oh, we forgot to take that out.
Yeah.
It was a joke in the edit, and they forgot to take it out.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, so, and let me just, we've kind of talked about it, but let me just get this straight. This is how you understood it. At the end of the movie, his big character choice is to either destroy the ruby thing, which will destroy everything, right? Like, then he's good to go. Once that's destroyed, Set is not able to inhabit somebody, right?
Yeah.
So he can either destroy that ruby, but this girl that he
Met a week ago
would be dead, or he can stab himself,
And
become inherently evil, and raise her from the dead.
Yeah.
I think he made the wrong choice. I'm just going to throw this out here.
Yeah.
I think the ends don't justify the means in this case.
I think he did too. I also this is a spoil. Not a spoil. This is a mess up within the mess up. But what kind of ruby shatters whenever you just bang it on the concrete one time?
Yeah.
It's not that's a kid's toy. That's not a real thing.
Yeah, that's a sucker ring.
And why didn't Prodigium just break the ruby? Why were they trying to keep it?
I don't know.
Because
they're studying evil. I'm just saying what they said. I don't say I agree with it.
Yeah.
They wanted to study the evil, so they wanted him to become evil so that they could study him.
Here's a question I have for you guys, because I always find this utterly unrealistic, but maybe you guys think there's a chance of this being real. Do you think there will ever again be a moment where we find that large of a space underground where something is there where we didn't know it was there?
Yeah.
We're running out of space.
We're running out of space. I'm just saying, we've searched pretty much everywhere at this point. Like, especially under London? You're going to tell me that because they were doing a new tunnel for their, whatever, that they found that much, tomb space?
I think the Roman catacombs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be some corridors that are going to have expand open that we haven't found yet.
Okay. Well, when it happens, you can celebrate being right, but I feel like we've figured this stuff out. I was thinking that when I was watching the original Mummy this morning, because the same thing happens in every Mummy movie. It's like, look at all like these miles of underground things that we knew nothing about.
And I guarantee you there's some tombs that have yet to be uncovered in Egypt.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think there may be a few dinosaur bones left to find, but I really can't see like big old tombs and that kind of stuff anymore.
Well, aren't there are places in the world that we've never been to, right? Aren't there tribes, or did I just is that
we find tribes in like the
website?
Congo and the Amazon all the
Sure,
time.
yeah, but now we found them.
Yeah.
No, we haven't.
All right.
Aaron's like, yeah, they're there.
Prove to me right
done.
now that we found anything we haven't found.
Well,
Say that question again. Say that question again.
That was purposeful.
Okay.
That was purposeful. Anyways,
can I say? I was going back to him dying and her dying, being resurrected. From like early in the movie, the rules were never clear, so I never cared or knew anytime somebody died or like nobody was ever in danger to me because I didn't understand the rules of the universe.
right. That's a great point.
They were so convoluted and non-specific at the beginning that I don't. So one of the things I'm worried about with the whole universe, the whole franchise, is do these rules transfer over everything? Is everybody going to be that immune or susceptible to death and resurrection and not like without the rules? It's a zombie or a ghost or a mummy but they're not the same thing, so don't mix them up. Or can he? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I didn't understand the world, so the world meant nothing to me.
Well, and again, it comes, it's set up with the fact that he survives this plane crash without any explanation. And it's like, well, if nobody's going to die and you're never going to tell us why they're not dying, like, how are we ever supposed to feel like we have anything invested in who lives and dies and what it means? Yeah.
It seems like a no-brainer that the first movie of the franchise, you have to set up the rules of the franchise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
And they didn't. They didn't even set up the rules for this movie.
That's a great point. Yeah, it just steals any foundation you have to enjoy anything because you don't know where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, anything else, guys? Anything else you want to bring up?
I would say I think you guys kind of touched on this already. The Brendan Fraser mummy is not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but I would say you could watch that 100 times before watching. I watched that 100 times.
It's a lot more accessible.
I really enjoyed it. I watched it this morning, and I don't know if it's just coming off of this version of The Mummy, but I was like, yes, that's how. Because here's the thing I forget, too, when I go back and watch even movies from, 18 years ago? Which I guess is a long time, but, about half my life ago. When I go back and watch these movies, you realize how much time they spend on character development. And if you do it right and you don't get bored with it, like if you're actually developing the characters, it can really serve the story. I would have never thought that the original Mummy had great character development. But compared to this, it was like, I really understood Brendan Fraser. I really understood the female lead in that movie.
Rachel Weisz.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Really?
It was Rachel Weisz.
Yeah.
It changed. It changed, though, didn't it, in the franchise?
No.
I think, was she in all four of them? Or all three of them? Or what? There's a four of them, wasn't there?
Mummy,
3 or 4.
Tomb of the Dragon Emperor with Jet Li.
The one with The Rock. Was that 3 or 2?
2 was The Rock.
2 was the Scorpion King one. She was in that. I think they killed her off.
Well, anyways, I was really impressed with Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, even John Hanna, who I'm just looking at his name here, but he was the brother that was...
Yeah,
he was great.
He was great in it. Wasn't he in like Spartacus or one of those movie or shows as well?
Could be. But
he's
even
on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now.
Oh, is he?
But even you go to the secondary characters, the head of the group that was trying to protect them. They're the Americans on the boat that they meet that are racing them to the... Like, all of them are well-defined enough that you know who they are and you know kind of what their role is in this world. And it's just... It reminded me that there's real value to figuring out how to do that because overall it's a goofy little movie with a plot that doesn't always hold together, but it's fun to watch and it's interesting and you like hanging out with those people.
Yeah.
The period aspect is more interesting too, setting it in a period. I know they probably couldn't do that with the franchise in this one.
I think they
But
could have.
I do have to say, I do take minor issue that you keep referring to that one as the original when we've already established.
No, you're right. You're right.
The
I'm sorry.
1936 is the quintessential.
Yeah,
In
the
every
32.
way. In every way it is.
Yeah.
Like it's a Universal movie too, right? It's
Yeah.
not like it was even, Universal's. I apologize for that. That's just bad.
Yeah. The
Bad on my part.
Is it Boris Karloff? He was the first Mummy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's the one I rewatched again last night after watching this one. And it is what it is as far as the era of it. You mean you're always going to deal with it's just not scary anymore and
Right.
things like that. But it was like you can't beat it for nostalgia, but also because it does it sets everything. And obviously this new one follows the Brendan Fraser one more because it's an action movie, not a horror movie. But the original, while being a lot of talking, it's got some clear suspense. It's not an action movie; it's a suspense drama.
Yeah.
So tonally, it's a completely different animal, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's worth watching the original, even for just nostalgia's sake. You may not.
Yes.
I mean, comparatively for 1932 or 36 or whenever it came out, it's it probably still holds up as a great movie. It's a little hard to be that vested in it on that level now.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Movie making has gotten so much better since then. Storytelling remains a gift, but movie making itself, the technical aspects of it have gotten so much better that it makes it hard to compare sometimes. Yes, I am speaking of the 1999 Mummy, what would we call it, a remake? Relaunch? Reboot of the Mummy franchise for Universal with Brendan Fraser. So that's about all I had to say, guys. There's nothing else really spoiler-wise.
Our our spoiler cast this week was, did this make sense to you? Did this scene make sense to you?
And all of us...
We can't talk about the dark scene. It was a chase scene, a car chase scene that was where he's getting attacked by zombies, I guess.
Yeah.
While they're driving through the forest or whatever.
Yeah.
That I don't have... I just don't that whole scene. I understood what was happening because of movie, but I did not see a specific thing happen in that whole sequence.
I don't remember thinking that during that sequence.
For me, it was the church right before that where I couldn't see what was going on.
Yeah, that was the only time in the actual church. I was like, "Wow, this is really dark." I can't imagine watching this in a regular theater.
Yeah,
but I don't remember during the driving scene.
My pro that I couldn't do in the earlier because it was a spoiler, but I really liked when they're getting away and he realizes that he's brought them right back without knowing it.
Yeah, that was cool.
I like that.
That first time in the car, whenever you don't see the car turn or whatever, but he pulls up and you see that she's right there in front of the church.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really solid reveal, and I like that aspect. I would like to have seen more of that in the movie. I know they were fighting with it the whole time, but I feel like you could have really made that, made him not. The point of the movie is he can't be trusted, even though he's the one that needs to fix it the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? They touched on it, but that could have been the whole movie, and that would have been a more interesting movie.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. And you're right. That was very well executed. I remember being hit by that in a really good way.
I was sitting next to Aaron in the theater, and halfway through the movie, he just goes, "Oh man."
Did I?
Yeah.
Halfway through the movie, that must have been when the first act was over.
Yeah, yeah. Because
I looked at it. That scene, that airplane scene, when it got over, we were almost 50 minutes into the movie.
Wow.
Maybe 45 with the maybe I'm thinking about credits.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was way too long for a first act.
Because
they did exposition of the world, then they did exposition of the characters. Then they got to the characters with that whole first scene of them. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with that first scene, which is them, I guess, in Iraq trying to steal stuff from Iraqis, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like the third or fourth scene that should be the first scene,
right? But then they end up, calling in an airstrike, right? And it reveals where we're going with our plot, that there's something under here, right? So my big problem with that is it never reveals anything about our main character in any way that is attractive to the audience or interesting to the audience. I mean, he's a thief going down into a city to steal things? That's not Indiana Jones going on an adventure. Yeah. That's not
and he's a bully to his friend.
Yeah, it was just a really weird way. And again, like I said, it goes back to how they described the character in that opening intro that I read is totally different than the character I saw, put on the screen.
Where'd they get all that mercury?
A lot of thermometers sales went down that year.
There's a whole planet of it just a little bit away from us.
Exactly. Has mercury been dripping for 5,000 years into that little cavern?
That's a lot of mercury.
That is so much mercury.
I have a question actually for you guys for one of the moments that I liked, but I don't know. I liked it in the moment, but I don't know how I felt about it in the whole movie. But that sequence, whenever she's convincing him that he's a good person, and he's like, "How do you know?" and she says, "There was one parachute. You gave it to me." It was just this like cool heart moment where, and then he says, "I thought there was another one."
I laughed.
I thought that was a really character defining moment. And I like that moment.
Yeah,
but I don't I don't know if I feel like it fit with the whole thing or not.
Yeah. I still laughed.
Yeah, there could have been more of that, a little more of the, I love you, I know, kind of moments of that kind of character, that just that tries to diffuse anything sentimental, but but for that moment, I thought it worked for what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
I like the moment. I just don't know if it fit. You know what I mean? If it fit with the movie.
Well, and I just don't feel like I ever bought their relationship, like ever.
Sure.
Like even in that sentimental moment, I just did not buy their chemistry
at all. Yeah. There's not a lot to unbox or untomb with this movie, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
It's just pretty bland.
Yep, that's it. Unless you guys have something else.
No.
Well, thanks for joining us for the spoiler cat, the Sift spoil for The Mummy. Where we basically just told each other all the things that didn't make sense to us.
Yep.
And that's what happens with a movie like this. We'll be back with spoilers for Cars 3 next week.
Wow.
And then we'll spoil all who wins all the races, right?
Yeah.
Just so you know. We'll see you then.
The Rocky of car racing.
That's right.
Bye.
That's right.